Hello and welcome to the Beyond Shakespeare podcast, video, YouTube, whatever you want to call it. We're in this is a first look exploring session of what are we reading? Oh yeah, the London Prodigal. And we're about halfway through, more than halfway through, I'd say. I don't know. And if you want to know what happened in the previous parts of the thing, you go watch that video first and then come right here, because it's just a lot has happened, but it doesn't always flow. So I will proceed with introducing the cast for today, before I forget what I'm doing again. Reading Weathercock and Delia, we have
Constantine from the Canadian prairies.
Reading Lancelot, Spurcock and the Citizen. We have, I believe it's Brian.
Oh, you have Brian Myers, not paying attention, from the Great Pacific Northwest.
Reading Daffodil, Franck, aka Francis, and a Citizen's Wife, we have.
Hi, I'm Lynn. I'm also from the Northwest, about 60 miles south of Brian.
We didn't plan this. At least I didn't. It wasn't. Reading Oliver, Ruffian, and Father Flowerdale, we have.
Lois from the heart of London.
Reading Uncle Flowerdale and Monsieur Civet, we have.
Rachel in the central Canada.
Reading Sir Arthur, Artichoke, and Rafe, who is a character who hasn't appeared yet, we have.
Sarah Blake, based in Germany.
And last but definitely not least, because he's probably the main character, reading Flowerdale, we have
Alan in Suffolk, and not a mountie anywhere inside.
Yeah. And I'm your host for today, Eric Karoulla. As you can see, Rob is not here at the moment. He's busy with other stuff. He has a life. And I'll be hosting and basically reading Luce, apparently. So yes, we will be picking up from scene 9. And if you are ready, enter Oliver, and afterwards, Sir Arthur Greenshield.
I'm assured it be the place that the scoundrel appointed to meet me. If it come, so. If it come not, so. And she var advised he should make a coistrel in us, she'd vase him and she'd vang him in hand, she would hoist him and give it him too, and again, so should. Who beena there? Sir Arthur, she'll stay aside.
I have dogged the Devonshire man into the field for fear of any harm that should befall him. I had an inkling of that yesternight, that Flowerdale and he should meet this morning. Though of my soul, Oliver fears him not. Yet for I'd see fair play on either side made me to come, to see their valours tried. Good morrow to Master Oliver.
Good morrow.
What, Master Oliver, are you angry?
Why, it be titten grieving you?
Not me at all, sir. But I imagine by your being here thus armed, you stay for some that you should fight withal.
Why, and I do, she would not desire you to take his part.
No, by my troth, I think you need it not, for he you look for, I think, means not to come.
No, and she were sure of that, she'd advise him in another place.
Enter Daffodil.
Oh, Sir Arthur, Master Arthur, me, your love, and yours, and mine, sweet Mistress Luce, this morning is married to young Flowerdale.
Married to Flowerdale? 'Tis impossible.
Married, man? I hope thou dost but jest to make involuntary merriment of it.
Oh, 'tis too true. Here comes his uncle.
Enter Uncle Flowerdale, a sheriff, and officers.
Morrow, Sir Arthur. Good morrow, Master Oliver.
Good morrow, Master Flowerdale. I pray you telling us, is your scoundrel kinsman married?
Master Oliver, call him what you will, but he is married to Sir Lancelot's daughter here.
Unto her?
Aye, had the old yellow served me thick trick? Why, man, it was a promise. She'll should have had her. Is there such a vox? She'll look to his water chip for him.
The music plays. They are coming from the church. Sheriff, do your office. Fellows, stand stoutly to it.
Enter all to the wedding. Lancelot, Weathercock, Flowerdale, Father Luce, Delia, Franck, and pretty much everyone, and Civet.
God give you joy, as the old Zaid proverb is, and some sorrow among. Ye met us well, did ye not?
Nay, be not angry, sir. The fault is in me. I have done all the wrong, kept him from coming to the field to you, as I might, sir, for I am a justice, and sworn to keep the peace.
Aye, marry, is he, sir, a very justice, and sworn to keep the peace. You must not disturb the wedding.
Nay, never frown nor storm, sir. If you do, I'll have an order taken for you.
Well, chill be quiet.
Master Flowerdale, Sir Lancelot, look who he is, Master Flowerdale.
Master Flowerdale, welcome with all my heart.
Uncle, this is she, faith. Master Under Sheriff. Bless me. At whose suit? Draw kit.
At my suit, sir.
Why, what's the matter, Master Flowerdale?
This is the matter, sir. This unthrift here hath cozened you, and hath had of me, in several sums, £3,000.
Why, uncle!
Cousin, you have uncled me, and if it be not said, you'll prove a cousin unto all who know you.
Why, sir, suppose he be to you in debt £10,000. His state to me appears to be at least 3,000 a year.
Oh, sir, I was too late informed of that plot. How that he went about to cousin you, and formed a will, and sent it to your good friend here, Master Weathercock, in which was nothing true but brags and lies.
Huh. Hath he not such lordships, lands, and ships?
Not worth a groat, not worth a halfpenny, he.
I pray tell us, be plain, young Flowerdale.
My uncle here's mad and disposed to do my wrong. But here's my man, an honest fellow by the Lord, and of good credit, knows all is true.
Not I, sir. I am too old to lie. I rather know you forged a will where every line you writ you studied where to coat your lands might lie.
And I prithee, where be they, honest friend?
I' faith, nowhere, sir, for he hath none at all.
Oh, Benedicta, we are all wretched, I believe.
I am cozened, and my hopefulest child undone.
You are not cozened, nor is she undone. They slander me by this light, they do slander me. Look you, my uncle here's a usurer, and would undo me. But I'll stand in law, do you but bail me. You shall do no more. You, brother Civet, and Master Weathercock, do but bail me, and let me have my marriage money paid me, and we'll ride down, and there your own eyes shall see how my poor tenants there will welcome me. You shall but bail me. You shall do no more, and, greedy gnat, their bail will serve.
Aye, sir, I'll ask no better bail.
No, sir, you shall not take my bail, nor his, nor my son Civet's. I'll not deal with him. Let's uncle make false dice with his false bones. I will not have to do with him. Mocked, gulled, and wronged. Come, girl, though it be late, it falls out well. Thou shalt not live with him in beggar's hell.
He is my husband, and high heaven doth know with what unwillingness I went to church. But you enforced me. You compelled me to it. The holy churchman pronounced these words, but now I must not leave my husband in distress. Now I must comfort him, not go with you.
Comfort a cozener? On my curse, forsake him.
This day you caused me your curse. You caused me on your curse to take him. Do not, I pray, my grieved soul oppress. God knows my heart doth bleed at his distress.
Oh, Master Weathercock, I must confess, I forced her to this match, led with opinion his false will was true.
Aye, he hath overreached me too.
She might have lived like Delia in a happy virgin state.
Father, be patient. Sorrow comes too late.
And on her knees she begged and did entreat. If she must needs taste a sad marriage life, she craved to be Sir Arthur Greenwood's wife.
You have done her and me the greater wrong.
Oh, take her yet.
Not I.
Or Master Oliver, accept my child, and half my wealth is yours.
No, sir, she'll break no laws.
Never fear, she will not trouble you.
Yet, sister, in this passion, do not run headlong to confusion. You may affect him, though not follow him.
Do, sister, hang him. Let him go.
Do, faith, Mistress Luce, leave him.
You are three gross fools. Let me alone. I swear I'll live with him in all his moan.
But an he have his legs at liberty, chum afeard he will never live with you.
Aye, but he is now in hucksters, handling for running away.
Housewife, you hear now how you and I am wronged. And if you will redress it yet, you may. But if you stand on terms to follow him, never come near my sight, nor look on me. Call me not father, look not for a groat. For all thy portion I will this day give unto thy sister, Frances.
How say you to that, Tom? I shall have a good deal. Besides, I'll be a good wife, and a good wife is a good thing, I can tell.
Peace, Frances. I would be sorry to see thy sister cast away, as I am a gentleman.
What, are you yet resolved?
Yes, I'm resolved.
Come then away, or now, or never come.
This way I turn, you unto your feast, and I to weep that I'm with grief oppressed.
Forever fly my sight. Come, gentlemen, let's in. I'll help you to far better wives than her. Delia, upon my blessing, talk not to her. Base baggage in such haste to beggary?
Sheriff, take your prisoner to your charge.
Oh, by God, you've used me very hardly. Truth, upon my wedding day.
Exit all but Luce, young Flowerdale, his father, uncle, sheriff, and officers. Oh, Master Flowerdale, but hear me speak. Stay but a little while, good Master Sheriff. If not for him, for my sake, pity him. Good sir, stop not your ears at my complaint. My voice grows weak, for women's words are faint.
You, uncle, she kneels to you.
Fair maid, for you, I love you with my heart, and grieve, sweet soul, thy fortune is so bad, that thou should matched with such a graceless youth. Go to thy father, think not upon him, whom hell hath marked to be the son of shame.
Impute his wildness, sir, unto his youth, and think that now is the time he doth repent. Alas, what good or gain can you receive to imprison him that nothing hath to pay? And where naught is, the king doth lose his due. Oh, pity him as God shall pity you.
Lady, I know his humours all too well, and nothing in the world can do him good, but misery itself to chain him with.
Say that your debts were paid, then he is free?
Aye, virgin, that being answered, I have done. But to him that is all as impossible as to scale the high pyramids. Sheriff, take your prisoner. Maiden, fare thee well.
Oh, go not yet, good Master Flowerdale. Take my word for the debt, my word, my bond.
By God, uncle, and my bond too.
Alas, I ne'er ought nothing, but I paid it, and I can work. Alas, he can do nothing. I have some friends, perhaps will pity me. His chiefest friends do seek his misery. All that I can or beg, get, or receive shall be for you. Oh, do not turn him away. Methinks within a face so reverent, so well experienced in this tottering world, should have some feeling of a maiden's grief. For my sake, his father's, and your brother's sake, I for your soul's sake, that doth hope for joy, pity my state. Do not two souls destroy.
Fair maid, stand up. Not in regard of him, but in pity of thy hapless choice, I do release him. Master Sheriff, I thank you. And officers, there is for you to drink here. There is for you to drink. Here, maid, take this money. There is 100 angels, and I will be sure he shall not have it. Here, Castor, take it to you, and use it sparingly, but let not her have any want at all. Dry your eyes, niece. Do not too much lament for him whose life hath been in riot spent. If well he useth thee, he gets him friends. If ill, a shameful end on him depends.
Exit uncle.
Lay go with you for an old fornicator. Come, Kit, the money. Come, honest Kit.
Nay, by my faith, sir, you shall pardon me.
And why, sir, pardon you? Give me the money, you old rascal. I shall make you.
Pray, hold your hands, give it him, honest friend.
If you be so content, with all my heart.
Content, sir? Blood, she shall be content, whether she will or no. A rattle baby come to follow me? Go, get you gone to the greasy chuff, your father. Bring me your dowry, or never look on me.
Sir, she hath forsook her father and all her friends for you.
Hang thee, her friends and father altogether.
Yet part with something to provide her lodging.
Yes, I mean to part with her and you, but if I part with one angel, hang me at a post. Rather throw them at a cast at dice, so I've done 1,000 of their fellows.
Nay, then I will be plain. Degenerate boy, thou hadst a father, would have been ashamed.
My father was an ass, an old ass.
Thy father? Proud, licentious villain. What, are you at your foils? I'll foil with you.
Good sir, forbear him.
Did not this whining woman hang on me, I'd teach thee what it was to abuse thy father. Go, hang, beg, starve, dice game, that when all is gone, thou mayst after despair and hang thyself.
Oh, do not curse him.
I do not curse him, and to pray for him were vain. It grieves me that he bears his father's name.
Well, you old rascal, I shall meet with you. Sarah, get you gone. We'll not strip the livery over your ears, because you paid for it. But do not use my name, Sarah, do you hear? Look, you do not use my name, you were best.
Pay me the £20 then that I lent you, or give me security when I may have it.
I'll pay thee not a penny. For security, I'll give thee none. Minkins, look, you do not follow me. Look, you do not. You do, beggar. I shall slit your nose.
Alas, what shall I do?
Why, turn whore, that's a good trade. And so perhaps I'll see thee now and then.
And exit Flowerdale. Alas, the day that ever I was born.
Sweet mistress, do not weep. I'll stick to you.
Alas, my friend, I know not what to do. My father and my friends, they have despised me, and I, a wretched maid, thus cast away, knows neither where to go nor what to say.
Grieves me at the soul to see her tears thus stain the crimson roses of her cheeks. Lady, take comfort, do not mourn in vain. I have a little living in this town, the which I think comes to £100. All that and more shall be at your dispose. I'll straight go help you to some strange disguise, and place you in a service in this town, where you shall know all, yet yourself unknown. Come, grieve no more, where no help can be had. Weep not for him that is more worse than bad.
I thank you, sir. And with that, they exit. Okay, that was a long scene, but I mean, yeah, any thoughts? Alan, then I think Lynn is waving, so yeah.
Yeah, it's highly confusing with a heck of a lot of people around. And I must admit, I was getting partway through it when I did wonder whether Flowerdale had actually been dragged off by the sheriff and officers. And then suddenly he speaks again. I think there would need to be stage business to cover it, with him sort of withdrawing to one side, maybe with the officers.
Well, yeah, you can
For
probably
all
imagine
that
them,
extended discussion.
yeah, probably like dragging him to the side or something,
Yeah.
him arguing, and then, yeah, maybe. Anything? Sorry, I can tell just by the faces in the room.
Right.
Yeah, Sarah, Lynn and Sarah, sorry, yeah. Or
Yeah,
unless,
basically, I just want to express my outrage. I mean, young Flowerdale just keeps getting worse. It was bad enough when he confessed
He's emotional now.
a few scenes back that I'm marrying Luce for her money, not because I love her. But here, she basically gets him out of trouble, and then he's really, really awful to her. Doesn't just say, I don't really want to live with you. I mean, he threatens her with physical violence. Like, that, you know, like, the question came up yesterday. It's like, how are we going to redeem him? Man,
Yeah, I'm starting to think that there's no redemption here. Sarah. Then
Yeah.
Brian.
There's no redeeming Flowerdale. He's just awful. I'm finding this really interesting from the flip side of that relationship from Luce's side, because I mean it goes without saying, especially to the people in this room, but I'm sure to anyone who's watching at home, unless this is your first Beyond Shakespeare rodeo, in which case, welcome. Like most people reading this or watching this will know that about the position of women in this, at this time in this society, and the fact that once they were married, they were completely, dependent upon their husbands, and they rose or fell, with their husbands. But I find this really interesting because it's throwing that into such relief. I mean, on the one hand, you could play this as, the fact that Luce is like, yeah, no, I did not want to marry him. She says quite openly, I did not want to go to church and marry him, but I did. You forced me, you being her father, you forced me into this. And so, now I'm stuck with him. And so I'm going to be a good wife to him. And you could see that as kind of, like a test of her virtue, and the fact that she's like, the perfect wife, and maybe that's going to supposedly redeem him sooner or later. I have no idea. I kind of hope not, actually, but that's the best maybe outcome for her. And this is a comedy, so she's not going to, stick a stiletto in him, I assume.
I hope.
But we can but hope. But the fact is that you could if you're putting this play on for a modern audience, you could use these speeches of hers and his actually to highlight this awful bind that women of this period found themselves in. The fact that once they were married to these people, it doesn't really matter if they're abusive or what have you. It's like they are stuck with him, and she really, she's like being the virtuous wife, but really she has no choice but to stick by him, and do the best she can for him, because like she does sink or rise, according to what happens to him. And I found it particularly interesting because Arthur loves her. And the father actually says, oh, well, do you want her now? And he's like, no, I don't. And you could play that Arthur's being a prig, and it's like, no, she's spoiled goods now, and I don't really want her. And you'd be like, oh, he didn't really love her. But you could also play that line, just that really short line, that he does love her, but he knows he can't have her because she's now legally someone else's, and legally someone else's property. And so, he can't commit bigamy because he'll end up in prison too. So he can't. And then Oliver as well obviously repudiates her in a more kind of vociferous way. And I just think that really throws into sort of stark relief just what a terrible situation the women in these comedies, not just this one, but in general, that tend to find themselves in. And you could actually make that quite compelling, I think, for a modern audience if you took that path with it.
Mm-hmm. Quickly, Lois, then Brian.
If I could be quick, there's so much going on in this scene. That's
I know.
Weird. I mean, this marriage can't have been consummated yet. I mean, they're just coming from church. So technically, I think it probably could be annulled, but nobody seems to be thinking about that. I mean, Oliver just says, I'm not going to break any laws. So he, and presumably it would have been difficult to do it and would have taken some time. Yeah, I'm really puzzled also by Sir Lancelot's behavior, which is appalling. I mean, just repudiating his daughter because she behaves virtuously and has done exactly what he told her to do. Also, I keep wondering about the father. I mean, if Luce really is stuck in this awful marriage, which essentially he engineered, it's nice that he's looking after her, but I mean, he can't really get her out of it. What is the other really weird thing about this? I mean, the whole scene seems to me just really odd.
Brian.
Yeah, it feels to me like scene 8 and 9 gave us the two big surprises in the play. We wondered from the beginning, what trajectory this was going to be. And the surprise in the last scene was the revelation of just how bad Flowerdale is. We were all a little shocked when that was suddenly revealed. We knew it wasn't great, but when he says right out, he just wants the money, that was pretty shocking. The response is that in this scene, now we get revealed who Luce actually is and what she's going to do. Her father, Lancelot, is bad solely for the purpose of putting her on her own and letting her display great virtue. That's what seems to me to be happening in this scene. So it looks pretty clear that the trajectory of this now is going to be Flowerdale gets worse, and Luce gets more and doubles down on her virtuousness in scene after scene until eventually there's a resolution, because it's the London Prodigal. You know how the prodigal story ends, and I'm not going to like it.
Yeah.
Lois, yeah.
Just one other thing, of course, if you were giving this a real modern twist, what you could show is that Luce is doing all this to get back at her father. You made me marry this man, right? I am now going to be the perfect wife and make you really miserable by watching what a wretched life I'm leading. Ha ha. I mean, I don't think this is at all what the author is after, but I can see a modern reading suggesting that there's a sort of masochism here.
Yeah, what struck me was that A, it's a public scene, and B, it's the two plots that the father set up, Father Flowerdale, have been resolved very quickly. So there's a part of me going, okay, now what? I mean, he drove the plot forward for the past 3, 4, 5, I don't know, scenes. Now he's kind of he's like, okay, I'm gonna help you to do this, but it's not sort of relating to his son. So I suppose we shall see what happens next in scene 10, where that was me trying to segue. Enter Sir Lancelot, Master Weathercock, and then Oliver, Civet, Arthur, Franck, and Delia.
Well, j'ha been served many a sluttish trick, but such a larry poop as that was never is served.
Son Civet, daughter Frances, bear with me. You see how I am pressed down with inward grief about that luckless girl, your sister Luce. But 'tis fallen out with me, as with many families beside, that they are most unhappy that are most beloved.
Father, 'tis even fallen out so. But what remedy? Set your hand to your heart and let it pass. Here is your daughter, Frances, and I, and will not say will bring forth as witty children, but as pretty children as ever she was, though she had the prick and praise for a pretty wench. But father, done is the mouse. You'll come?
Aye, son Civet, I'll come.
And you, Master Oliver?
Aye, for I vexed or this vest, shall see if I can make a better vest there.
And you, Sir Arthur?
Aye, sir. Although my heart be full, I'll be a partner at your wedding feast.
And welcome all indeed, and welcome. Come, Franck, are you ready?
Jesu, how hasty these husbands are. I pray, Father, pray to God to bless me.
God bless thee, and I do. God make thee wise, send you both joy. I wish it with wet eyes.
But, Father, shall not my sister Delia go along with us? She's excellent, good at cookery and such things.
Yes, marry shall she. Delia, make you ready.
I am ready, sir. I will first go to Greenwich, from thence to my cousin Chesterfield's, and so to London.
It shall suffice, good sister Delia, it shall suffice. But fail us not, good sister. Give order to cooks and others, for I would not have my sweet Franck to soil her fingers.
No, by my troth, not I. I, a gentlewoman, and married to it, and a married gentlewoman too. to be companions to cooks and kitchen boys. No, not I, in faith. I scorn that.
Why, I do not mean thou shalt, sweetheart. Thou seest, I do not go about it. Well, farewell to you. God's pity. Master Weathercock, we shall have your company too?
With all my heart, for I love a good cheer.
Well, God be with you all. Come, Franck.
God be with you, father. God be with you, Sir Arthur, Master Oliver, and Master Weathercock. Sister, God be with you all. God be with you, father. God be with you, everyone.
And exit Civet and Franck, which is like the second wedding in the play already. Okay, sorry, moving on.
Why, how now, Sir Arthur? Olamort? Master Oliver? How now, man? Cheerly, Sir Lancelot, and merrily say, who can hold what wills away?
Aye, she is gone indeed. Poor girl, undone. But when they'll be self-willed, children must smart.
But, sir, that she is wronged, you are the chiefest cause. Therefore 'tis reason you redress her wrong.
Indeed you must, Sir Lancelot, you must.
Must? Who can compel me, Master Weathercock? I hope I may do what I list.
I grant you may. You may do what you list.
Nay, but an you be well advising, it were not good by this frumpfulness and forwardness to cast away as pretty a dowse of belle as any should chance to see in a summer's day. Shall tell you what I should do. Shall go a spy up and down the town and see if I can hear any tale or tidings of her, and take her away from thick a missile, for I'm assured he'll but bring her to the spoil. And so, very well, we shall meet at your son Civet's.
I thank you, sir. I take it very kindly.
To find her out, I'll spend my dearest blood. So well I loved her to affect her good.
And both
Master.
Oliver and Arthur exit.
Oh, Master Weathercock, what hap had I to force my daughter from Master Oliver and this good knight to one that hath no goodness in his thoughts?
In luck, what remedy?
Yes, I have almost devised a remedy. Young Flowerdale is sure a prisoner,
Sir, nothing more, sir.
and yet perhaps his uncle hath released him.
It may be very like, no doubt he hath.
Well, if he be in prison, I'll have warrants to attach my daughter till the law be tried, for I will sue him upon cousinage.
Marry, may you, and overthrow him too.
Nay, that's not so. I may chance be soft, and sentence passed with him.
Believe me, so he may, therefore, take heed.
Well, howsoever, yet I will have warrants. In prison or at liberty, all's one. You will help to serve them, Master Weathercock?
And they all exit. That's a weird way to end the scene, but I mean, yeah. What just happened? Sorry, I just realized I didn't get that scene at all. It's like,
Yeah,
okay, they
neither
talked
did
about
I.
a wedding and then they kind of, yeah. Lynn.
Yeah, what's Lancelot gonna do? Like sue him or not sue him? Like what? I'm not really sure.
I think Lancelot's going to sue him. It's only confused by Weathercock playing whatever side was last spoken. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The beginning of this exchange really makes me want to smack Lancelot. It's like, oh, what terrible luck. What did it do with luck? It was your greed.
no, it's her fault. If children are
Yeah.
willful, they have to hurt.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh,
Totally.
fortune my foe. No, it's I know.
But
So
I
I
do
guess-
like how Arthur's like spoke directly to him and like sort of just went sort of, well, you know,
Yeah.
it was your fault, Dad. Or well, Dad-in-law. Yeah.
Yeah, Arthur and Oliver both come out much better in this. Arthur speaking directly and Oliver having a kind impulse.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on this scene, or shall we just move on? Because I want to know what happens now. It's just kind of like,
Yeah.
how you can't redeem him. So yeah, and the Robert is in the room.
Yes, I've returned. Did you miss me?
I should
Teacher's
hand
back.
over
The
your.
teacher's back. Everybody behave.
Yeah, I'll have to go back and, tell me I don't have to edit things. That'd be very annoying.
Maybe the begin. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. So, actually, just genuinely, do recap. What's happened so far. I've not been here, and we've got a bit. You've jumped on. You're making good time. How's the play going?
Well,
We hate young
well,
Flowerdale.
Oliver turns up for his duel with Flowerdale, which and it doesn't happen because instead he learns from Arthur that Flowerdale has married Luce, which of course is something Lancelot did in order to avoid the duel, partly because he thought he'd got proof that Flowerdale was wealthy and madly in love with Luce. So they all go off just as the wedding procession is coming from church, and as planned, Flowerdale's uncle arrests him, and both the uncle and Flowerdale's father reveal that Flowerdale has absolutely no money and is a complete crook. This is a surprise to Flowerdale, I imagine, since he thought that the father was his loyal servant. Anyway, everybody's appalled. Lancelot tells Luce to come away from this awful man. She says, "No, sorry, I didn't ever want to marry him, but since I have, I'm going to be faithful to him and I will stay with him." And whereupon Lancelot rejects her and casts her off as if the whole thing was her fault.
Nice guy.
Then,
continues to be a nice guy.
Yeah.
Are we really surprised that he's not a nice guy?
Yeah. He's a father,
Yeah. The father was sort of indicating he'd not been a great guy for a very long time himself. I mean, he's well into beyond middle age. So it depends how old the father is. He was making that thing of, well, I was a lad until I was in my 40s, and I'm thinking, well, technically that could be now. So
yeah. Well, that's Flowerdale's father, but Lancelot's Luce's father, and he's behaving atrociously. The whole thing is really pretty weird at this point. I mean, Luce persuades the uncle to release Flowerdale and not throw him in prison, whereupon he rejects her and says, "Just get your dowry for me. That's all I want, and couldn't care less about you." He flounces off. Then the real Flowerdale's father, who is still in disguise, tells Luce that he'll look after her. That he's got a tiny bit of money and will do his best to help her. Lancelot, still feeling very sorry for himself because of what's happened, is sort of consoled by the other two suitors to Luce, Arthur and Oliver, and they both say they're going to try to find Luce and help her.
But she's going to disguise herself. Her unknown father-in-law says, "I'll disguise you as a servant, and then you can get a job." And
yeah. So that'll make it hard for anybody to find her because her disguise will, of course, be impenetrable. Yes.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, that's me up to speed, and possibly other people as well. How's the flow of the dialogue been going? Are we feeling it? Are we still sort of in that sort of slight? It's slightly too thick and fiddly. Alan.
Yeah, it's not the clearest bit of exposition we've had. And doesn't help with Oliver's interventions in pure yokel.
Yes,
it's not naturalistic at all.
We've had requests for subtitles. It'll be interesting to see when this goes out on YouTube what the visual captioning looks like.
Yes, that's an interesting question. Yeah. Oh God, I have to input it manually, won't I? Anyway, let us, however, move on to the world of scene 11. I believe. I trust that's where we are. Okay. Eric can just do some acting now. He can relax. No longer needs to read the stage directions. As scene 11, enter Flowerdale.
The devil take the dice. Dice and the devil and his dam go together. Of all my 100 golden angels, I've not left me one denier. Pox have come of 5. What shall I do? Borrow no more of my credit. There's not any of my acquaintance, man nor boy, that I've borrowed more or less off. I knew where to take a good purse and go clear away. At this light I'll venture for it. God's lid, my sister Delia, robber by this hand.
Enter Delia and Artichoke.
I pray thee, Artichoke, go not so fast. The weather is hot, and I'm something weary.
Nay, I warrant you, Mistress Delia, I'll not tire you with leading. We'll go an extreme moderate pace.
Stand! Deliver your purse!
Oh, Lord! Thieves! Thieves!
And exit Artichoke.
Come, lady. Your purse, lady. Your purse.
Voice I've heard often before this time. What, Brother Flowerdale, become a thief?
Oh, I plague on't. I thank your father. But sister, come. Your money, come. What? The world must find me. I am born to live. 'Tis not a sin to steal when none will give.
O God, is all grace banished from thy heart? Think of the shame that doth attend this fact.
Shame me no shame. Come, give me your purse. I'll bind you, sister, lest I fare the worst.
No, bind me not. Hold, there is all I have, and with that money would redeem thy shame.
Enter Sir Oliver, Sir Arthur, and Artichoke.
Thieves! Thieves! Thieves!
Thieves? Where, man? Why, how now, Mistress Delia? Have you a like to have been robbed?
No, Master Oliver, just Master Flowerdale. He did but jest with me.
Ah, Flowerdale, that scoundrel. Sirrah, you meeting us well, among you that.
Flowerdale?
Sorry, I've lost the... Ah, yeah, got it. Well, sir, I'll not meddle with you because I have a charge.
Here, Brother Flowerdale, I'll lend you this same money.
I thank you, sister.
I wad ye were split, and ye let the measle have a penny. But since you cannot keep it, shall keep it myself.
'Tis pity to relieve him in this sort, who makes a triumphant life his daily sport.
Brother, you see how all men censure you. Farewell, I pray God amend your life.
Come, she'll bring you along, and you safe enough from 20 such scoundrels as thick one is. Farewell, and be hanged, Sarah, as I think so thou wilt be shortly. Come, Sir Arthur.
Exit all except for Flowerdale.
A plague go with you, Fracazi rascal. This Devonshire man, I think, is made all of pork. His hands made only for to heave up packs. His heart as fat and big as his face. As differing far from all brave gallant minds as I to serve the hogs and drink with hinds, as I am very near now. Well, what remedy? When money, means, and friends do grow so small, then farewell lie, there's an end of all.
And exit Flowerdale. I think there's a moment there when Oliver says, "Vang thee that," that he's actually hitting. Oliver says, "Vang thee that." He's actually hitting Flowerdale at that point, so as he's coming in. So it's yes, and yet Delia. I've got a question mark next to Delia. Here, brother, I'll lend you this same money. I'm sort of. Is she hitting him as well? Right. Okay. Is that the logic? I see. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Multiple potential hits, which I think the audience will enjoy if that's the logic. Because I was sort of going. I was trying to figure out. I'll lend you this same money. What? She's sort of pretending she wasn't being robbed. Was no? I think just.
I think
Whack.
she wasn't she? She tells them that he was only jesting with her. I think there's some sort of family feeling. You know, this is my brother. I can't let them know how awful he is. She keeps going on about shame. And it's shame to the whole family probably now. So yeah, I think maybe she even says it aside. You know, okay, I'll lend you this money that you were trying to rob me of. I don't know.
Yes, the here brother could be making it a slightly more private thing that it's sort of done. But it doesn't sound like Flowerdale's got that much at the end of out of it by the end. But yeah, he's a charming person. Continues to be terribly charming. Artichoke's initially looks like Artichoke isn't very helpful, but actually, he does at least go and get some help. So it's sort of 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. There, it's sort of going. fair enough. If he knows he's not going to be able to do any fighting, then that's sort of fine. I assume we saw the last of Daffodil earlier, and that made a massive impression on the room, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
Does anyone even remember? It did happen.
Yeah, that's
Daffodil
right.
definitely said something earlier in the play. Sarah.
He was the one who came in and told everybody right at the beginning of this session that Luce had got married to Flowerdale. And he was quite distraught about it. And then everyone else was distraught about it. And he just kind of went off. And that was the last we saw of him.
Yeah, none of us are very sad. Lois, then Brian.
Well, it was interesting that at that point he did say that both the people that he's talking to, Oliver and Arthur, are in love with her, and he also says, "and mine." I mean, he's also crazy about her. Doesn't seem to mind admitting it, unless he says that as an aside, which is possible.
Brian.
Two quick things. One, just weighing in with Lois, I agree that Delia in this scene is either avoiding family shame or following Luce's lead in how she is treating Flowerdale's villainy. But also, the moment when Flowerdale in scene 8 reveals how bad he is repeated again here in that at the top of the scene, the first speech. He suddenly decides he'll be a thief. And then within the same speech, just as we've seen him go one level lower than we anticipated, at the end, he says he'll rob his sister. Both things at once. So he's just going way down, plummeting about as fast as you could. I don't know what's coming next.
The descent spiral of Flowerdale there. Constantine, then Lois.
Yes, Delia is supposed to be the wise one. And it's interesting the way she acts, and I mean, I've read a little ahead, but it's interesting what she does. So I don't know what the author's trying to say about Delia. If she's the wise one, why does she do what she does? So I'll just watch her and see what she does at the end. So I don't know why. I mean, she's supposed to be chaste, she's supposed to be wise, but it's interesting what the author's doing with her.
Lois, then Lynn.
Gosh, sorry, I've forgotten what I was going to say. Never mind.
Yeah, right. Lynn.
Yeah, I think I will go with Brian's second take. Is like she's following Luce's lead. At first she says, just dump him, just like come home with us. But when Luce is adamant that her duty in this society is to stick by her husband, Delia, because she's also basically a very decent, moral person and wants to do what's right and stick by her sister. Like, so she's following Luce's lead. I think it's like Luce says he's family now. We have to try to take care of him. So she's trying to do what her sister would want her to do.
Lots of had, but Lois and Eric.
Yeah, well, I was just interested in something in Flowerdale's last speech, this appalling sort of snobbery. Oliver has just shown himself to be really quite a decent guy, and there's Flowerdale going on about how what an oaf he is, and not remotely like a gentleman like me, and so on.
Eric.
I was going to say that maybe as with many female characters, or even real women in real situations, being alone with a man is terrifying, I imagine. So it's kind of like he might even have a weapon. We don't know. We might have he might be bigger than her. So she might already be terrified and just be playing it off as sort of like, oh yeah, he's already family, so yeah, maybe I'll give him the money.
I will wrap this up shortly, but Lois, then Lynn.
Yeah, but I just realized looking at this that this could also be another slightly comic example of Flowerdale's uselessness, because he says, come, your purse, lady, your purse. She promptly recognizes his voice and says, what, brother Flowerdale, become a thief? So, I mean, if he's got a mask on or is trying to hide his face, this doesn't work at all. She sees through him immediately. So yes. It could be a lot less scary than that.
Yes, if this guy cannot disguise himself in an early modern play, then he's really incompetent.
I was just typing that comment into the comments.
Yeah, it's just that's a real fail. Lynn.
I was just going to say the question of whether he's armed. Probably yes. A gentleman went about with a sword, whether he thought he was going to need it or not. And that persisted well into the 18th century. It was just part of your clothes. It was an accessory. So he might very well have had a sword.
Yeah. Or maybe one of those little tools for getting bits out of horses' hooves. You know, I wouldn't be, surprised with someone like Flowerdale.
As a hoof pick in his pocket.
A deeply inappropriate tool for the job. Anyway, enough of that tool. Let's move on to another one. Scene 12. Enter Father Luce, like a Dutch Frau. Discuss. Civet and his wife, Mistress Frances.
By my troth, God a mercy for this, good Christopher. I thank thee for my maid. I like her very well. How dost thou like her, Frances?
In good sadness, Tom, very well, excellent well. She speaks so prettily. I pray you, what's your name?
My name, forsooth, be called Tannikin.
Oh, by my troth, a fine name. Oh, Tannikin, you are excellent for dressing one's head a new fashion.
Me shall do everything about the head.
What countrywoman is she, Kester?
A Dutch woman, sir.
Why, then she is outlandish, is she not?
Aye, sir, she is.
Oh, then thou canst tell how to help me. Help me to cheeks and ears.
Yes, mistress, very well.
Cheeks and ears? Why, Mistress Frances, want you cheeks and ears? Methinks you have very fair ones.
Thou art a fool, Tom. Thou knowest what I mean.
Aye, Kester. 'Tis such as they will at their heads. I prithee, Kit, have her in and show her my house.
I will, sir. Come, Tannikin.
Oh, Tom, you have not bussed me today, Tom.
No, Frances, we must not kiss afore folks. God save me, Frank.
Enter Delia and Artichoke.
See yonder, my sister Delia is come. Welcome, good sister.
Welcome, good sister. How do you like the tire of my head?
Very well, sister.
I'm glad you're come to Sister Delia to give order for supper. They will be here soon.
Aye, but if good luck had not served, she had not been here now. Filching Flowerdale had like to peppered us. But for Master Oliver, we had been robbed.
Yes, sir, no more.
Robbed? By whom?
Marry, by none but Flowerdale. He is turned thief.
By my faith, but that is not well. But God be praised for your escape. Will you draw near, sister?
Sarah, come hither. Would Flowerdale, he that was my master, robbed you? I prithee, tell me true.
Yes, i' faith, even that Flowerdale that was thy master.
Hold thee, there's a French crown, and speak no more of this.
Oh, not I, not a word. Now, do I smell knavery? In every purse Flowerdale takes, he is half, and gives me this to keep counsel. No, not a word, I.
Aye, God a mercy.
Sister, look here, I have a new Dutch maid, and she speaks so fine it would do your heart good.
How do you like her, sister?
I like her, your maid, well.
Well, dear sister, will you draw near and give me directions for supper? Guests will be here presently.
Yes, brother, lead the way, I'll follow you.
And exit everyone except for Delia and Luce.
You, Dutch Frau, a word.
What is your bill with me?
Sister Luce, 'tis not your broken language, nor this same habit can disguise your face from what I that know you. Pray tell me, what means this?
Sister, I see you know me, yet be secret. This borrowed shape that I have ta'en upon me is but to keep myself a space unknown, both from my father and my nearest friends, until I see how time will bring to pass the desperate course of Master Flowerdale.
Oh, he is worse than bad. I prithee leave him, and let not once thy heart to think on him.
Do not persuade me once to such a thought. Imagine yet that he is worse than naught. Yet 1 hour's time may all that ill undo, that all his former time did run into. Therefore, kind sister, do not disclose my estate. If e'er his heart doth turn, 'tis ne'er too late.
Well, seeing no counsel can remove your mind, I'll not disclose you that art wilful blind.
Delia, I thank you. I now must please her eyes. My sister Frances neither fair nor wise.
And they exit. So the Luce is in disguise. One sister sees through it straight away, and the other one doesn't. That's very much in line with the sister sliding scale that the play has been putting in place here, as previously discussed. Alan.
Yeah, we got this strange one again where we've had another scene where it's descended into rhyming couplets. We have one scene earlier yesterday in the previous recording, I think it was. Does seem almost like the play is a bit of a patchwork.
Well, it might be that there's more than one hand to it. We don't know who wrote it, so it's not impossible. But we don't know. There does seem to be some slight inconsistencies overall the play. I think we were noticing it was like that sort of half scene we had, which had all the sort of plot beats, but didn't feel quite like a scene yesterday. Whereas this scene, it does sort of plonk itself down to say, "Hi, we need to do some plot." But it's nice to see Civet and Franck. I quite like their relationship actually. I like the whole thing of, we can't kiss in front of other people. You haven't kissed me yet today. There's something quite endearing about them actually. I mean, it's like they've set them up and maybe they're actually quite a good match, in ways. Anyway, Sarah and then Lynn.
I think they are a good match, but sadly what you missed, Rob, was when Luce was being turned off by her father. They were fairly ghastly.
Were they?
They were. So like, and they were like, oh yeah, they were like, oh yes, okay, we won't speak to her, and then it was sort of like, no, don't worry, you've still got us, and you know, we'll have lovely children, and you can forget all about her, you'll be a grandfather, blah blah blah. So they were fairly awful, but they are really well suited. Yeah.
Yes, and hence the fact that she's in disguise now, because you don't want to be, you know, if you know, they would reject her again, presumably. Lynn.
I mean, I think they're not very deep. And I don't remember that scene quite the way Sarah does, so we'll have to go back and look at it at some point. But you know, they're kind of basically good-hearted people. It's like, oh, our new Dutch maid, we just like her so much, you know. They're just all like, oh, we're so lucky to have you. You know, they're actually very kind to her. Well, that's such a cute name, you know. So you get the sense that they're going to be good to her when, you know, you could get away with mistreating your servants very easily in this period. But you know, and yeah, they seem, you know, reasonably fond of each other. So at least not everybody's horrible. You know, the Luce's father is pretty horrible, and Flowerdale is horrible. But you know, everybody else seems to have at least a streak of decency.
Yes, I'm just skimming through Franck's dialogue in the previous scenes. Anyway, come back to that another time. Other things, Eric.
Yeah, I was just thinking about Luce in this scene. She's kind of still holding out. I don't know. I feel like Luce needs like a monologue somewhere here to tell us what she's really thinking. Because otherwise, if she's still holding out that Flowerdale is gonna get better, it seems kind of, I don't know, meh.
Meh. Yeah, so we've got set up for presumably the fight. It's this question of Luce is biding her time to see what happens to Master Flowerdale, and it's a question in his desperate course of robbery and things. So yes, we have a scene. It's quite a long one to go through. So we'll see what happens there. So we return to the world of Flowerdale. Scene 13. Enter Flowerdale Solus.
On goes he that knows no end of his journey. I have passed the very utmost bounds of shifting. I have no course now but to hang myself. I've lived since yesterday 2 o'clock of a spice cake I had at a burial. Of a drink I got it in an alehouse among porters. such as will bear out a man if he had no money indeed. I mean, out of their companies, for they are men of good carriage. Who comes here? 2 coney catchers that won all my money of me. I'll try if they'll lend me any.
Yes, enter Dick and Rafe.
What, Master Richard, how do you? How dost thou, Rafe? My God, gentlemen, the world grows bare with me. Will you do as much as lend me an angel between you both? You know you won 100 of me the other day.
How? An angel? God damn us if we lost not every penny within an hour after that wert gone.
I prithee lend me so much as will play for my supper. I'll pay you again, as I am a gentleman.
I'faith, we have not a farthing, not a mite. I wonder at it, Master Flowerdale, you will so carelessly undo yourself. Why, you will lose more money in an hour than any honest man spend in a year. For shame! Betake you to some honest trade, and live not thus so like a vagabond.
And exit both Dick and Rafe.
Vagabond indeed. More villains you. They gave me counsel that first cozened me. Devils first brought me to this I am. Being thus the first that do me wrong. Well, yet I have one friend left in store. Not far from here. From hence there dwells a cockatrice. One that I first put in a satin gown. And not a tooth that dwells within her head, but stands me in at the least at £20. Her will I visit now, my oath coin is gone. And as I take it, here dwells the gentlewoman. What ho! Is Mistress Apricot within?
Enter the bouncer. Enter Ruffian.
What saucy rascal is that which knocks so boldly? Oh, is it you, old spendthrift? Are you here? One that has turned cozener about this town. My mistress saw you, and sends this word by me. Either be packing quickly from the door, or you shall have such a greeting sent you straight as you will little like on. You'd best be gone.
So, this is as it should be. Being poor, thus art thou served by a vile painted whore. Well, since thy damned crew do so abuse thee, I'll try of honest men how they will use me.
Enter an ancient citizen.
Sir, I beseech you to take compassion of a man, one whose fortunes have been better than at this instant they seem to be. But if I might crave of you some little portion, as will bring me to my friends, I should rest thankful until I had requited so great a courtesy.
Fie, young man, this course is very bad. Too many such we have about this city. Yet for I have not seen you in this sort, nor noted you to be a common beggar. Hold, there's an angel to bear your charges down. Go to your friends. Do not on this depend. Such bad beginnings oft have worser ends.
Exit citizen.
Friends, nay, if it fall out no worse than in old angels, I care not. Nay, now I've had such fortunate beginning, I'll not let a sixpenny purse escape me. Mass, here comes another.
Enter a citizen's wife with a torchbearer before her.
God bless you, fair mistress. Now would it please you, gentlewoman, to look into the wants of a poor gentleman, a younger brother? I doubt not God will treble restore it back again, one that never before this time demanded penny, halfpenny, nor farthing.
Stay, Alexander. Now, by my troth, a very proper man, and 'tis great pity. Hold, my friend, there's all the money I have about me, a couple of shillings, and God bless thee.
God thank you, sweet lady. You have any friend or garden house where you may employ a poor gentleman as your friend? I'm yours to command in all secret service.
I thank you, good friend. Prithee, let me see again that I gave thee. There's one of them a brass shilling. Give me them, and here's half a crown of gold in gold.
The citizen gives it her.
Yeah, that's wrong. It's Flowerdale.
Yeah.
Now out upon thee, rascal! Secret service, what dost thou make of me? It were a good deed to have thee whipped. Now I have my money again. I'll see thee hanged before I give thee a penny. Secret service. On, good Alexander.
And exit both.
This is villainous luck. Perceived dishonesty will not thrive. Comes more. God forgive me. Sir Arthur and Master Oliver afore God. I'll speak to them.
Enter Sir Arthur and Master Oliver.
God save you, Sir Arthur. God save you, Master Oliver.
Ah, bin you there, Zara? Come, are ye taking yourself to your tools, Coistrel?
Nay, Master Oliver, I'll not fight with you. Alas, sir, you know it was not my doings. It's only a plot to get Sir Lancelot's daughter. God, I never meant you harm.
And where is the gentlewoman, thy wife, Maisel? Where is she, Zara, huh?
I'm her troth, Master Oliver. Sick, very sick. And God is my judge. I know what means to make for a good gentlewoman.
Tell me true. Is she sick? Tell me true. Ich weiß thee.
Yes, faith. I tell you true, Master Oliver. You would do me the small kindness but to lend me 40 shillings. So God help me, I will pay you so soon as my ability shall make thee able. As I am a gentleman.
Well, thou sayest thy wife is sick. Hold, there's 40 shillings. Give it to thy wife. Look thou give it to her, or I shall so vase thee thou wert not so phased these 7 year. Look to it.
I'faith, Master Oliver, it is vain to give to him that never thinks of her.
Well, would she could find it.
Tell you true, Sir Arthur, as I'm a gentleman.
Well, fare you well, Zara. Come, Sir Arthur.
And exit both Arthur and Oliver.
Lord, this is excellent. 5 golden angels compassed in an hour. This straight hole I'll never seek anew. Welcome, sweet gold, and beggary, adieu.
And we'll just pause in the slightly tarnished summoning of Everyman sequence that we've got here. Going to people. He's tried robbery. He's sort of trying out a bit of low-level beggary and seeing how that's going. I quite like the entrance of the ruffian. My mistress saw you and sends this word by me. We don't have time to change the already quite swollen female part ranks in this play, so we have to sub a man who just puts on a different hat. That feels like a very pragmatic thing of we just don't have time or inclination to swap out any of the boy players at this time. So yeah, that felt very pragmatic. Thoughts from the room on this little sequence. He's not having a great time. I feel so sad for him. Brian.
He feels to me in this scene like he's doing kind of a reverse morality play. In every man, you go around at some point in the play and you talk to to try and get help for your salvation. You talk to worldly goods, you talk to kindred, and you ask each of them, can you help me? And he's going around to each one asking, can you damn me? Kind of the reverse.
Yeah, it's I mean, and he hasn't always done, but sometimes he fails and his friends forsake him, and sometimes actually though it turns out reasonably well. So it's sort of it's a slightly less schematic form of what it's doing. So there's this little nod to, because even at the very beginning the whole thing is following the prodigal son logic, and then it's sort of doing very different things. It's sort of dancing on their bones as it goes. Lynn.
Yeah, so I think what the main thing that this is going on here in the last actually few scenes is this play is going out of its way to tell us what an awful person Flowerdale is. He marries for money, then he rejects his wife. He tries to rob his own sister-in-law. That scene doesn't really forward the plot at all, just to show how low he would stoop. And now here he is. He's trying to borrow money from people who want money from him. Gambling. That's maybe understandable. But then he stoops to begging. And I think that had a much more negative valence to it than we really understand. Begging was absolutely humiliating. And like into the 19th century. It's like it's something absolute last resort. It's really, really humiliating. And he's like, begging brings in money. Cool. That
Yes, I mean, this is the thing. There's no real sense of him suffering. You know, if we're working on a repentance, redemption arc, he's not really suffering, and he's not in the least bit repentant. Occasionally, he's going, "Oh, bit poor me. I could really do with some money," but he's not at all, and that's really interesting because we haven't got much of the play left.
That would have been really shocking. And he gets a little money from a good-hearted citizen's wife. I don't think the citizen and the citizen's wife are married. I think they're two separate. So a male citizen and a female citizen. And he's like, "Oh, thanks for the money. If there's anything I can do for you." So he has to spoil it by offering to become her gigolo and offends her, and she takes her money back. Like he just like kind of the mind fair reels. It's like it's hard to think of how he could stoop lower.
Lois and Eric.
Yeah, I mean, some of that is comic. I mean, that whole thing where with the citizen's wife, I think Alexander might be her man, her servant, accompanying her, but who knows? At any rate, but it's a lovely example again of his messing up what he's trying to do. The scene almost seems to be there as well as a kind of warning: do not give to beggars. They're probably all crooks anyway,
Yeah.
And I was wondering too about, you said the earlier scene with Delia doesn't advance the plot, but I did notice that the father took a great interest in that and, told Artichoke to keep quiet about it. So that may lead to something later.
Yeah, and it is part of Flowerdale's progression, I suppose, in that sense. So there's little tendrils, even if it's not an overt shift. I had a thought. Yes, Alexander's presumably the torchbearer in that scene.
Yeah.
So I think we can give the torchbearer a random guy holding a torch. Is actually has a name. Father doesn't have a name. Uncle doesn't have a name. But hey, torchbearer gets one.
Torchbearer has a name.
Eric, then Alan.
What I was thinking was that it's a bit like the disobedient child. He just like sort of. I mean, we've read that interlude where like kind of he marries because he wants to, and then instead of going to school and doing honest trade and all that stuff, and then sort of descends into a spiral, and then at the end of the spoilers of disobedient child, you get this thing about like, well, I can't help you. You dug yourself into this. You have to get yourself out. It's your problem, kind of thing. So I'm curious if that's where this is going to go.
Alan.
Yeah, I mean, the father and uncle do have names, but only the surname of Flowerdale.
Yeah, but they don't have any first names. I mean,
No, God, no.
Something to differentiate them, except their plot function. So it's interesting how in many ways shallow this text is sort of doing things at times. So it's interesting there. Anyway, we are mid-scene and we need to move on. So we've had the exit of both Arthur and Oliver. Now we have the entrance of Uncle and Father.
Hester, if you can find the house.
It's here. My uncle and my man Kester, and the mast is they. How do you, uncle? How dost thou, Kester? My troth, uncle, you must needs lend me some money. The poor gentlewoman, my wife, so God help me, is very sick. I was robbed of the 100 angels you gave me. They're gone.
Aye, they are gone indeed. Come, Kester, away.
No, uncle, do you hear? Good uncle.
Out, hypocrite. I will not hear thee speak. Come, leave him, Kester.
Kester? Honest Kester?
Sir, I have naught to say to you. Open the door, Tannikin. Thou hast best lock it fast, for there's a false knave without.
You're an old lying rascal, so you are.
Exit both father and uncle. Enter Luce, still disguised.
What is the matter? What be you, Jonker?
Why, this light a Dutch Frau. Say they're called kind. By this light, I'll try her.
What bin you, Jonker? Why do you not speak?
My troth, sweetheart, poor gentleman that would desire of you, if it stand with your lighting the bounty of your purse.
Now enter father.
Oh, dear God, so young and Armine.
Mine, sweetheart? I know what you know what. I know not what you mean by that. I'm almost a beggar.
Are you not a married man? Where been your wife? Here is all I have. Take this.
What gold, young Frau? This is brave.
he have any grace, he'll now repent.
I speak you not, where be your wife?
Dead, dead, she's dead. 'Tis she hath undone me, spent me all I had, and kept rascals under my nose to brave me.
Did you use her well?
Use her? There's never a gentlewoman in England could be better used than I did her. I could but coach her. Her diet stood me in £40 a month. But she is dead, and in a grave my care are buried.
Indeed, that was not scorn.
He has turned more devil than he was before.
Thou dost belong to Master Civet here, dost thou not?
Yes, me do.
Why, there's it. There's not a handful of plate but belongs to me. God's my judge, if I had been such a wench as thou art, there's never a man in England would make more of her than I would do, so she had any stock.
They call within, "Oh, why, Tannikin?"
Say, one doth call. I shall come by and by again.
Exit Luce.
By this hand, this Dutch wench is in love with me. Were it not admirable to make her steal all Civet's plate and run away?
Now, 'twere beastly. Oh, Master Flowerdale, have you no fear of God nor conscience? What do you mean by this wild course you take?
What do I mean? Why, to live, that I mean.
To live in this sort? Fie upon the course. Your life doth show you are a very coward.
A coward? I pray in what?
Why, you will borrow sixpence of a boy.
Snails, is there such cowardice in that? Borrow it of a man I, and of the tallest man in England, if he will lend it of me. Let me borrow how I can, and let them come and buy it how they dare. And it is well known, I might have rid out 100 times, if I would, so I might.
It was not want of will, but cowardice. There's none that lends to you but know they gain, and what is that but only stealth in you? Delia might hang you now, did not her heart take pity of you for her sister's sake. Go, get you hence, lest lingering where you stay, you fall into their hands you look not for.
I'll tarry here till the Dutch Frau comes, if all the devils in hell were here.
And exit farther, enter all the devils in hell. No, enter Sir Lancelot, Master Weathercock, and Artichoke.
Where is the door? Are we not past it, Artichoke?
By the mass, here's one. I'll ask him. Do you hear, sir? What, are you so proud? Do you hear? Which is the way to Master Civet's house? What, will you not speak? Me! This is filching Flowerdale.
Oh, wonderful, is this lewd villain here? Oh, you cheating rogue, you cut-purse coney-catcher. What ditch, you villain, is my daughter's grave? A cousining rascal that must make a will take on him that strict habit, very that when he should turn to angel, a dying grace. I'll father-in-law you, sir. I'll make a will. Speak, villain, where's my daughter? Poisoned, I warrant you, or knocked to the head? And to abuse good Master Weathercock with his forged will, and Master Weathercock to make my grounded resolution, than to abuse the Devonshire gentleman. Go away with him to prison.
Or to prison? Sir, I will not go.
Enter Master Civet, his wife Oliver, Sir Arthur, father, and uncle Delia. Slight risk of clashing here. Everybody's on at the same time.
Oh, here's his uncle. Welcome, gentlemen, welcome all. Such a cousin, gentlemen, a murderer too, for anything I know. My daughter is missing, hath been looked for, cannot be found. Aviled upon thee.
He is my kinsman, although his life be wild. Therefore, in God's name, do with him what you will.
Marry to prison.
Wherefore to prison? Stick up, I know you nothing.
Bring forth my daughter, then. Away with him.
Go seek your daughter. What do you lay to my charge?
Suspicion of murder. Go away with him.
Murder you dogs? I murder your daughter? Come, uncle, I know you'll bail me.
Not I. Were there no more than Then I the jailer, thou the prisoner.
Go, away with him.
Enter Luce, disguised like a Dutch Frau.
Oh, my life here. Where will you hide the man? What had the younger done?
Woman, he hath killed his wife.
His wife, that is not good, I do not see.
Hang not upon him, huswife. If you do, I'll lay you by him.
Have me no other way than you have him. He tell me that he loved me heartily.
Lead away my maid to prison. By Tom, will you suffer that?
No, by your leave, father, she is no vagrant. She's my wife's chambermaid, and as true as the skin between any man's brows here.
Go to, you're both fools. Son Civet of my life, this is a plot, some straggling counterfeit preferred to you, no doubt to rob you of your plate and jewels. I'll have you led away to prison, troll.
I am no troll, neither outlandish Frau, nor he nor I shall to the prison go.
And Luce discovers herself.
Know you me now? Nay, never stand amazed, father. I know I have offended you, and though that duty wills me bend my knees to you in duty and obedience, yet this ways I do turn, and to him yield my love, my duty, and my humbleness.
And she kneels to Flowerdale.
Bastard in nature. Kneel to such a slave?
Oh, Master Flowerdale, if too much grief have not stopped up the organs of your voice, then speak to her that is thy faithful wife. Or doth contempt of me thus tie thy tongue? Turn not away, I am no Ethiop, nor no wanton Cressida, nor a changing Helen, but rather one made wretched by thy loss. What, turnst thou still from me? Oh, then, I guess the woefulest among hapless men.
I am indeed wife of wonder among wives. Thy chastity and virtue have infused another soul in me, bred with defame, for in my blushing cheeks seen my shame.
Out, hypocrite! I charge thee, trust him not.
Not trust him by the hopes of after bliss. I know no sorrow can be compared to his.
Well, since thou wert ordained to beggary, follow thy fortune. I defy thee. Aye.
And I'm going to pause us there at a random point because there's quite a lot to unpack so far. So yeah, we're getting all of our favourite plot ideas here. Is that Luce is sort of doing a bit of patient Griselle, isn't here? Of the I'll need to. Oh yes, and this is the point he repents. This is his repentance point. I mean, earlier in the scene, I was really hopeful they're just gonna banish him or something, or he's just gonna get burnt or something, because he's just like, you are hopeless. Really, go away. And something might occur that might fit within a comedy setup here. You know, just leave. But no, we have Luce being terribly patient with him, and him really not deserving any of that. As various people come flying in, I do quite like Luce's Frau impression. I quite like, because she's done a little bit of research. Her vocabulary is very small, so she keeps using the same Dutch words again and again. And so that is not nice. It does feel like something that you might learn from a book. Popular phrases for your Dutch holidays, kind of thing. And I like that little detail of picking up the kind of Dutch that you might pick up off the streets from traders or things like that. It's just enough without actually making it as incomprehensible as the person who's actually English. Oliver's completely incomprehensible phonetic stuff, whereas actually Luce is mostly comprehensible, I say, apart from the occasional word that they throw in, which contextually you have a decent chance of getting what is meant. So yeah, there's an awful lot of people. So Lancelot's suddenly doing this righteous indignation kick. I'm not sure he deserves to get to do a righteous indignation kick, but hey, it's the final scene of the play. So again, plot kicks in. Thoughts on this scene so far, Lynn?
Well, we kind of knew this was coming, right? You know, that the profligate character was have to get redeemed somehow, and it was not going to be credible, at least not to our modern sensibilities. I didn't think it would be maybe quite so out of the blue, but what play was it where this like really terrible character gets sent to prison, and then in prison he like turns into the model prisoner and like leads everybody else in singing hymns or
That's
something?
Eastward Ho. Yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
Eastward?
Yeah.
And they do work quite hard to build that redemptive arc there, and I at least felt that
It was
worked.
a little bit of an arc rather than like it's a redemptive. I mean, it's not an arc. It's not. You know. I mean, at least in Eastward, like he'd been in prison and you know, of course, like even in fairly civilized countries in which I do not live, incarceration is miserable. But the early modern Europeans, and we still believe like that suffering is redemptive somehow. The fact that he suffered made him a better person. That punishment is corrective. The data tells us that's bullshit, but we still believe that to some extent, and they definitely believed it in the early modern period. So there was a reason for his redemption is that he had gone through physical hardship and suffering, and this just really is out of the blue.
Because it's talking about from a modern perspective. I'm not even sure it's convincing from an early modern perspective. It's like the play says we have to do this now, and it's like, oh well, Luce will just say 8-9 lines, and suddenly he's redeemed. I just don't even buy it. I'm just sort of thinking, oh, okay, well, I'm entirely poor. Maybe I've got a chance to turn this around. That's what I'd be thinking if I was that kind of person that we've met for the rest of the entire play. What has he learnt from? He hasn't had an opportunity to learn anything. Anyway, Constantine then Lois. I'm saying that.
Well, how sincere is he? I mean, yes, I mean, it is the London Prodigal, but is he sincere? Does he realize, well, this is my only way out? I mean, as you said, as we're all saying, I mean, doesn't sound very convincing. Oh, yes, shame, I feel shame in this. I mean, he's a scoundrel. I mean, and I mean, I don't know. I'm just...
Yeah, I mean, he's only had 4 lines so far. He may have some more. I mean, and you wait till he does the media round and does all the chat shows. Then we'll really start to believe that he's changed. Lois, then Eric.
Yeah, I think the point of it is really not whether it's plausible for the characters, but whether it's theologically plausible. I mean, this is a Protestant play. That is, you're saved according to Protestantism by faith, not by good works. I mean, there is actually a play by Lope de Vega, which I think John Osborne translated as A Bond Honored, in which the central character behaves even worse than Flowerdale. I mean, I think he rapes his sister and blinds his father. I mean, he's just appalling. And at some point, I think he's shipwrecked on an island or something and has a vision of Christ and suddenly repents. And then for some plot reason that I can't remember, he ends up being executed. And then we see him in heaven looking down. And I think that the point of these plays is to indicate the outrageousness of this idea that it's never too late to repent, and that there's always divine grace waiting for you if you have faith. And which I think for most people is pretty outrageous as an idea, but it's odd because the example of Lope de Vega, of course, is a Catholic play, but I think Protestantism stresses even more this idea of simply faith. And I think it does seem to me that the dramatist is making Flowerdale pretty much as awful as possible, although he hasn't actually done anything. In fact, the worst thing he's done really is marrying Luce. But he hasn't actually, robbed or killed anyone. Although, as the father points out, he would be in danger of death for having attempted to rob on the highway. I mean, that's highwaymen were executed.
Eric.
I was thinking, I mean, as Luce, I was kind of hoping that, once they have him in custody, I don't know, whatever the proper phrase is, that she would just knee him in the groin. But I mean, maybe that's just me.
Hard.
Okay, well, let's find out. There might be some groin kneeing any moment now. So we've had some turnaround there. Lancelot says, "Don't! It's a trap." And we have now Oliver stepping in.
Oh, you would you were so well endorsed as whatever white cloth in a hawking mill, and she had not made me weep. If he have any grace, he'll now repent.
It moves my heart.
By my troth, I must weep. I cannot choose.
None but a beast would such a maid misuse.
Content thyself. I hope to win his favour and to redeem my reputation lost. And, gentlemen, believe me, I beseech you, I hope your eyes shall behold such change as shall deceive your expectation.
I would ye were split now, but I believe him.
How? Believe him?
By the Matkins, I do.
What, do you think that ere he will have grace?
By my faith, it will go hard.
Well, Chevalier, he is changed, and Master Flowerdale, in hope ye bane so. Hold, there's £40 toward your setting up. Oh, be not ashamed, fang it, man, fang it. Be a good husband, loving your wife, and you shall not want for 40 more, I chavour ye.
My means a little, but if you'll follow me, I will instruct my ablest power. But to your wife I give this diamond, and prove true diamond fair in all your life.
It's good, Sir Arthur, Master Oliver, you being my enemy and grown so kind, binds me in all endeavour to restore.
What? Restore me, no restorings, man. I have £40 more for Luce, here, vang it. So shall defy London else. Oh, I do not think me a measle or a scoundrel to throw away my money. She have £100 more to pace of any good spectation. I hope your father and your uncle here will follow my examples.
You have guessed right of me. If he leave this course of life, he shall be mine heir.
But he shall never get a groat of me, a cozener, a deceiver, one that killed his painful father, honest gentleman that passed the fearful danger of the sea to get him living and maintain him brave.
What? Had he killed his father?
Aye, sir, with conceit of his wild courses.
Sir, you are misinformed.
Why, thou old knave, thou toldst me so thyself.
I wronged him then, and towards my master's stock there's 20 nobles for to make amends.
No, Kester, I've troubled thee and wronged thee more. What thou in love gives, I in love restore.
But, sister, there you played bo-peep with me. Tom, what shall I give her toward household? Sister Delia, shall I give her my fan?
You will best ask your husband.
Shall I, Tom?
Do, Frank. I'll buy thee a new one with a longer handle.
A russet one, Tom?
Aye, with russet feathers.
Here, sister, there's my fan toward household to keep you warm.
I thank you, sister.
Oh, why, this is well towards fair Luce's stock. Here's 46 shillings and 40 good shillings more. I'll give her, marry. Come, Sir Lancelot, I must have you friends.
Not I. All this is counterfeit. He will consume it were it 1,000,000.
Sir, what is your daughter's dower worth?
Had she been married to an honest man, it had been better than £1,000.
Pay it him, and I'll give you my bond to make her jointure better worth than 3.
Your bond, sir? Why, what are you?
One whose word in London, though I say it, will pass there for as much as yours.
Were not thou that late unthrift's serving man?
Look on me better now my scar is off.
And father discovers himself. Dun dun dun!
Ne'er muse, man, at this metamorphosis.
Master Flowerdale!
My father! Oh, I shame to look on him. Pardon, dear father, the follies that are past.
Son, son, I do, and joy at this thy change, and applaud thy fortune in this virtuous maid, whom heaven hath sent to thee to save thy soul.
This addeth joy to joy. High heaven be praised.
I caused that rumor to be spread myself, because I'd see the humors of my son, which to relate the circumstance is needless. And, sirrah, see you run no more into that same disease, for he that's once cured of that malady of riot, swearing, drunkenness, and pride, and falls again into the like distress, that fever is deadly, doth till death endure. Such men die mad as of a calenture.
Heaven helping me, I'll hate the course as hell.
Say it and do it, cousin. All is well.
Well, being in hope you'll prove an honest man, I take you to my favor. Brother Flowerdale, welcome with all my heart. I see your care hath brought these acts to this conclusion, and I am glad of it. Come, let's in and feast.
Nay, as oft you a while. You promised to make Sir Arthur and me amends. Here is your wisest daughter. See which uns she'll have.
God's name, you have my goodwill. Get hers.
How say you then, damsel? Did uns have?
I, sir, am yours.
Ah, why then, send for a vicar, and she'll have it dispatched in a trice, so she'll.
Pardon me, sir. I mean, I am yours in love, in duty, and affection, but not to love as wife. Shall ne'er be said, Delia was buried married, but a maid.
Do not condemn yourself forever, virtuous fair. You were born to love.
Why, you say true, Sir Arthur. She was imbare to it, so well as her mother. But I pray you show us some examples or reasons why you will not marry.
Not that I do condemn a married life, for 'tis no doubt a sanctimonious thing, but for the care and crosses of a wife, the trouble in that world that children bring. My vow is in heaven, in earth to live alone. Husbands, howsoever good, I will have none.
Why then, she will live a bachelor too. She set not a fig by a wife, if a wife set not a fig by me. Come, shall's go to dinner? Tomorrow I crave your companies in Mark Lane. Tonight we'll frolic in Master Civet's house, and to each health drink down a full carouse.
And they go. Okay. I quite like the fact that Delia at the end just goes, look, I've been watching this marriage lark. I'm not having any of that. That is clearly a dodgy deal. Bye. And I actually quite like the way that Oliver turns around and goes, okay, yeah, okay. Actually, maybe I won't get married either. It's maybe you've got a point. Yeah, Constantine.
The real reason is she couldn't understand a bloody thing he's been saying all
Yeah.
But it's interesting, though. I mean, it ends like this. I don't know. Isn't that unusual? A woman saying, like, I'm not married. I'm going to be, and she's supposed to be the wisest one, right? She says, no, marriage is not for me, right? And this is counter what this period would focus on or promote, right?
Yeah, we've had a couple of plays that sort of dance around some of these things. So that's interesting. Brian was waving earlier, then Lois, then Lynn.
Well, if anyone wants to say more about the wedding and marriage and vows of chastity, let's stick with that for a minute first.
Okay, I'll go to Lois. Were you on that theme?
Oh, well, no, I was just surprised, really, that what happens to Sir Arthur or doesn't happen. I mean, he seems like a perfectly nice man. He's apparently poor and he's a soldier. And I think at one point he seemed vaguely to be suggesting to Flowerdale, if you want to join the army, which is one way people often do redeem themselves. They go off and behave heroically and come back with tons of money. But it's not really followed through. I mean, he seems like kind of a dangling bit of the plot.
Yes, he definitely does. There's something set up earlier in that sort of half scene that then doesn't really go anywhere. And there I see the potential redemption of this play. I will come back to that, Lynn, and then I'll go to.
Yeah, I was going to speak to the marriage thing. I mean, this is such a shit final scene. And Delia's refusal to fall in line with what our expectations are, and her refusal to get married, and her even mentioning, I don't want kids, almost makes it worth it. It almost makes this ending like acceptable. Because she's like, I'm buying out.
Bran.
Yeah, so what I expected, or what I wished for, let's say, not exactly what I expected, at the end of the comedy would be an actual repentance with some internal logic to his conversion, and we didn't get that. Another thing you might have thought, if it's going to be a comedy with all these daughters, would be a string of marriages, would be a common ending for a comedy. And we conspicuously do not get that. In fact, we get the denial of that, the refusal of that. What we do get in this scene, carefully structured, is a series of gifts of contributions of money. And the scene is built around, the climax is when Lancelot turns and gives the money. So it's building tension around, will everybody give the money? So the giving of money is the thing that marks this as a successful conclusion. It's all those angels we get, and not the angels of conversion that stand in this city comedy that where the worst thing that can happen to is you descend to beggary, and then you can turn. It stays firmly in its middle-class commercial interests all the way up to its final definition of a comic conclusion.
Yeah, and it does give us a really interesting sort of line, actually, if we don't muck around with the text, of actually saying that there's something about capitalism or proto-capitalism at this time that this play is all about. I mean, even down to the rather pathetic gift, but it's the reconciliation of the sisters moment of Franck going, I'll give you my fan. You will buy me another fan, won't you, dear? Yes, I'll give you my fan. And it'll keep you warm. And it was like, because that you could really sort of go full on Brecht on this and really try and make that do something with this text, because it does subvert expectations a lot of the time, and when it does do the thing, it doesn't do it in a way that you're really expecting at all. And I think that's excellent. Eric.
Yeah, you could almost hear, a mark of a buck again, whatever the line is. It makes the world go around. It's like, so why are we? But I was expecting a sort of cautionary tale ending where, like, we're giving you the money, but if you mess up, kind of, or if sort of, I don't know. I kind of was hoping he got his, comeuppance, but obviously he didn't. Unless it's like sort of because he didn't want to be married, therefore he sort of is condemned to be married. I don't know.
It doesn't land that way, because it's like she's so determined that she's going to make it work that it doesn't feel like it's landing in that way at all. And he's putting on a good front, but it does feel like it's probably a front, isn't it? Lynn.
Yeah, this is a really weird play. It would not have been hard to tell this same basic narrative, but have Luce be in love with him. I mean, that wouldn't have been hard to do. I mean, the heart has a mind of its own. Even in real life, we fall for really inappropriate partners. And so we at least have the satisfaction in the end of knowing that even though Luce may not know what's good for her, she gets what her heart's desire in the end. She gets the man that she wanted all. It would not have been hard to write it that way. But the choice was to make her be forced into this marriage and then sort of step up and put on her patient Griselda hat, which is just, it's very odd, and it really does, as I think Brian very smartly observed, really put the focus on the transactional aspect. I mean, all relationships are transactional. People get really uncomfortable when I say that, but they are. And in other early modern plays, that love and money go together, and the ending that we want to see is that the girl with the nice chunky dowry redeems the ne'er-do-well, but they really love each other. So that's what makes the happy ending. And here, she basically loves him in a wifely way because the social rules say she has to. It's like, and it didn't have to be written that way.
Yeah, Lois.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. It certainly didn't have to be written that way, and it could have been a much more plausible ending I think dozens of other ways, really. I mean, there's an awful lot of comedy in this, and we haven't picked up all of it, I think. I mean, I think to some extent you could see it as a parody of the Prodigal Son play. And this ending with everybody throwing in their bit of money, could be really pretty hilarious. A little pile of it on the floor, and Luce and Flowerdale just sort of standing there looking at it. I don't know. It just seems to me that there were so many Prodigal Son plays. Everybody had seen them and they know how they go, that I think this is doing something a bit different.
Yeah, I mean, it's the fact that they set up Sir Arthur. I mean, it's because they have the wedding that the play can't end in the satisfactory romantic ending. If we could fudge away that the wedding isn't legal on some level, that they could somehow annul it. And you end with, he does this repentance. Oh, it's all going to be fine. And then actually, no, we're just going to marry you to this. And at the end of the play, it's just Flowerdale and his father just says, oh, I'm not dead. Or in fact, doesn't even tell him he's still alive. They just leave him at the end. Then of which there is a sort of precedent. The Disobedient Child is a play which does the prodigal son story, and the ending is really harsh. Actually, it's like he repents at the end, and his father says, "Well, I'll pay your basic debts off, but otherwise you're screwed." And then the play ends. And there's something quite honest about that, actually, of just going, you don't want, sometimes in real life, you don't get a lovely redemptive ending where people throw money at you. Actually, in real life, you make a terrible decision young, you will have to repent at extremely long leisure. So I'm sort of interested in sort of conflating those notions in some way in this as well, and dealing with this, like the oddness of this text is deliberate. It's not just that it's odd. It's there's something going on here. I don't quite know what to do with it yet. I don't have a through line, but there are options that are sort of leaping about. Eric, then Lynn.
Well, yesterday you made the observation. Well, yesterday, aka in the previous video, you for those of you who haven't been watching this, you made the observation that she, in the scene with Arthur, she goes, "If I may choose, I'll be a soldier's wife," and like you'd said that like that "if I may choose" is doing a lot of work, which, if looking at the whole play, it is, because she can't choose. Even if she wants to be with Arthur and stuff. Like, the thing is, they offer her the choice. And then I think, well, in terms of religion and legal stuff, she's kind of stuck there. It's not so much sort of love him or not. It's kind of like being trapped in an abusive marriage, and you can't leave because of the kids.
And this is again where we get back into our genre question from before. Is we often have with comedies, is the problem is it's quite difficult to get laughs out of them, because actually they're not ending in a way that is very satisfactory. Rom-coms are structured in a certain way because by and large they can end with happy dancing and singing, but here it's very difficult for that, because again it feels like it is genuinely just quite a cynical ending in many ways, especially, as I say, with that coda with Delia at the end of just going, marriage can be rubbish, maybe it's a good life choice to avoid it, and just walk away if you are reasonably set to do that. Lynn.
This is really weird. I mean, 2/3 of the way through it, 3/4 of the way through it, I'm just like, no, it's like, this is just not worth it. But it's so weird. I mean, in other, Rafe gets redeemed takes in this period and in the Restoration, we know from the beginning that the Rafe has a heart of gold, that he's really kind of a decent person on the inside. I keep coming back to School for Scandal because I love that play and I know it best. But Charles is actually really in love with Mariah, and he actually appreciates his uncle and honors him, and wants to help his poor he's basically a good guy. And there's another play that I have seen in production, and I think maybe it's early restoration, where there's the young prodigal, and he's in love with a girl with a substantial portion, and it would kind of fix things, but of course her people don't want her to marry him. And in the climax of that play, he basically gives her up. He says, okay, I renounce my claim to this woman that I love because I know I can't do right by her, and I love her, and I want what's best for her, and that's what redeems him. And then the girl, who's evidently has the power to make decisions, says, okay, well, boop, 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 I'm tearing up the bond for all the money that you owe. I'm yours because you just volunteered to give up something you love because it was best for me. I know you really love me. So
Okay, I think that's love for love, isn't it?
It might be. I saw
finally
that.
Recognized it. Yeah, Congreve,
I saw that
love for
stand
love.
years
Yeah.
ago. So,
Yeah.
so you either have the prodigal really has a heart of gold and is like really loves the love interest, or if we want to go back to the original, there's genuine suffering, or Eastward Ho, like the prodigal son in the biblical story is sleeping with the hogs. He's reduced to abject poverty, so he kind of pays for his crappy decisions by living in squalor for we don't know how many months, and young Flowerdale never pays for it, and he doesn't have a heart of gold that we know. So it's so weird.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't even pretend he has a heart of gold, really, at any point. He's just really quite horrible, and even at the end, I'm with Lancelot, and if only the father didn't discover himself, and Lancelot was the last one just going, nope. No, I'm not. I don't. And I could sort of go with that if that was an ending. Everyone else saying, sister, we reconcile with you. Sister, we reconcile with you. It's all fine. And he says, no. We're not doing this. Was the marriage consummated? You know what? I'm gonna go to the authorities, see if we can get this annulled in the long term. Thank you very much. And then or something along those lines. Lois.
Well, I think that's what we would want now. I mean, I do think that Flowerdale is such an idiot through most of the time. I mean, most of what he's trying to do, everybody can see through immediately. And the only people that can't are pretty thick or else so good-hearted. I mean, I think Oliver is basically just rather good-hearted as well as dim. And in fact, I think Flowerdale says his heart is as big as his face or something like that. But presumably, one could see it as a happy ending, that Luce suddenly discovers that she's actually married to someone who really is fabulously wealthy because his father has all this money, which he reveals to everyone. I mean, I think you really would have to play it very ironically, but with everybody going, oh, wow. And the father reveals that he's wearing solid gold under his servant's dress and produces banknotes from all over, and everybody's throwing coins down. I mean, just send the whole idea of a happy ending up.
Yes, I sort of have this image of the Crystal Dome with just more and more banknotes being dropped in on them, and they're just sort of going, "Oh, catch the money," and sort of do something with that. By the way, I'm not going to go into around the whole room for final thoughts because I think we are dancing around a lot of final thoughts. I think this is one where a straightforward through line is actually quite difficult. So I don't really expect anyone to come up with an answer, but do continue waving as we've got a few minutes left with things you want to throw in, ideally different from things that you've heard before. Eric, then Alan, then Sarah.
Well, I was thinking was during the scene with where Flowerdale meets Luce as the Frau before she discovers her. I don't know. I keep imagining she's pulling off a wig, which is why I'm doing that. Discovers herself. Like whether she recognizes him, because that is important, I feel, because she kind of takes pity. Like if she takes pity on him as someone that she doesn't know, then that tells you something about her. If she takes pity on him because she knows who it is, that also tells you something about her. Which I don't know, it's just interesting to see how that relationship plays out.
Well, he's not disguised.
Alan.
She must.
I must admit, I found the end highly unsatisfactory. I have a problem with these ones which sort of seem to end with basically someone doing a 360 donut turn, and there's no build up to it. There's no rationale for it that I can see, and I just wonder that it was regarded as acceptable in those days. And I think these days a lot of people would simply say, "Oh, goodness sake, what do you do? Change the script writer before the last scene."
Well, I say that's the thing, is that we've always found those sort of repentance things often unsatisfactory. It's the fact that this one is so egregiously unsatisfactory that I wonder if there's something more that can be done with that. It actually feels weirdly like an opportunity, not a burden. It's Sarah.
Yeah, it does feel like an opportunity, she says, who has no qualms about hacking other people's scripts around. And the thing that I keep coming back to is Delia, because Delia doesn't appear for scenes and scenes and scenes. It's ages before she makes an appearance. She's talked about, but she doesn't appear. And she really doesn't, considering she's the wise sister, she doesn't do a lot other than deliver that final killer speech. And I just can't help but thinking, and this is just my imagination working overtime, but I can't help but wonder if maybe actually there were originally only two sisters, the silly one and the wise one, and somebody said to the playwright, "Oh, you can't have that ending. You can't have Luce turning around at the end and saying, 'No, you know what, I'm not going to marry anyone,' because she's so disgusted with how everything's turned out." And so he kind of put in an extra sister and divided them up slightly. I don't know whether that's the case or not, but it did occur to me that you could actually do that in reverse. If you did fudge the marriage, as you suggested, Rob, and so she's not actually married at the end, you could actually, because Delia really doesn't serve much of a function. She's almost robbed but isn't really. You could always give that to Francis, that scene, make her the sister who's robbed, and then you could actually kind of merge Delia and Luce into one. And then at the end, when if you kind of arranged it so that the wedding hadn't happened and she's free, and the father says to her, "Which one do you want?" She says, "No, actually, I don't want to marry any of them. I've had enough, thank you very much." And that would be an opportunity, I think. But you would have to manhandle the play quite a bit to make it work.
If we slightly change the period and you just have an absent-minded priest run on and go, "Oh, I'm terribly sorry, I did the paperwork wrong. You're actually married to Sir Arthur." You can't do it if you set it in the early modern, but if you set it in, say, the 19th century, and did it that way, you'd still be able to get a lot of the tonal things that you've got here, a lot of the potential satire about mercantile things and the upper middle classes, but you could it's easier to tie up the wedding plot later in history than in the early modern period, because it's really hard to annul things. It's really hard to do those things, and it comes with a price. Lois, then Lynn.
Yeah. I mean, annulment could be done for non-consummation. I mean, that was how the most famous divorce case of the period, Francis Howard's divorce from the Earl of Essex, happened. And it was very complicated because they had to have a decision that he was only impotent in regard to her, but not in regard to other women, because he wanted to marry again. But they
were powerful, and that was basically a bogus.
Yeah, well, we don't want to go down that road now, but what seemed to me a real dangling bit of the play also is the way that Delia is being treated by her, Franck and Civet. They're essentially using her like a servant. You take care of the household things in the kitchen, because I don't want my beloved Frances to be dirtying her hands or dealing with that stuff. And this is really pretty awful, but it never, somehow Franck and Civet seem to be left really untouched. I mean, I think the author just finds them funny, and they're sort of funny from beginning to end with this. But again, you do wonder what's going to happen to Delia. Is this her future, to be the spinster left in their house doing all the basic stuff that they're too good to do?
Yeah, you do get the impression with them that they are the sketch of characters that you could really run with. Actually, there's some real potential with Franck and Civet that this play does, and with a lot of the characters, it's not an excessively long play, and you do feel that maybe this is a first draft, and it could really do with a second go over, just to expand a bit more on it. Because I say the potential is there actually for a real social comedy about these very dysfunctional families, and it just doesn't quite deliver that. Lynn?
One way I was thinking that you could undo the marriage is, you have Father Flowerdale kind of putting on this show. Anyway, you make it so he hired a fake priest to perform the ceremony. So it's not a legitimate ceremony because the minister wasn't ordained. And then they reveal that, and it's, oh, by the way, you're not really married because this guy who married you, he's just a guy that I picked up in the street and sent to the church because I didn't want this nice young woman to marry my horrible son. So,
Lois, then Eric, and then I'll close the session.
Right. Yeah, funnily enough, Eastward Ho, and which involves a rather bad marriage of Gertrude to this terrible Sir Petronel Flash. In the 18th century adaptation of it, it turns out that he's already married, and so her marriage is annulled, and she's sort of rescued from him. And it's clear that that the 18th century couldn't bear the idea of that marriage continuing.
Yes, maybe. Yeah, that might be an easier one to arrange. Yeah, it's bigamy. Marry Sir Arthur. Eric.
I was going to say something about basically what Lynn was saying, and then I got lost in the priest stuff. I don't know what my final plot was going to be, but
That's okay. It's interesting actually now that we got a play that doesn't do a romantic comedy ending properly at all in so many different ways. It's strange how eager I am to turn it onto its correct inverted commas course. It's really interesting how my desire to marry her off to Sir Arthur, even though it's such a minor element actually, whereas actually anything else could happen. But it's really interesting that desire to follow convention it is there.
That's one of the reasons I'm so obsessed with genres, because it does that to us.
Yeah. And this is the thing to remember about play. Sometimes people keep saying things like, the drama, tells a lie to get us at a greater truth. Sometimes it just tells lies, big societal lies that push us in really difficult, dangerous directions that actually sometimes we should push against. I'm not saying getting married to a correct person is perfectly fine, but don't marry Flowerdale. Brian, were you waving?
Just two small thoughts. One, as Constantine wrote in chat, what purpose does Weathercock serve? And one of the purposes he serves is pointing in the direction Lois said. There's comedy to be found out in this text that we haven't fully, of course, managed to realize in our first cold reading. And I think a lot of his purpose is just to be laughable, and would pull the text in that direction. But I'm really interested, Robert, in your desire to preserve the genre, recover it somehow. That made me think that really this choice of ending with a easily parodic conclusion of throwing money at the allegedly happy couple, followed up immediately by a renunciation of all marriage, feels more and more to me as I think about it like a deliberate attempt to undercut exactly the genre expectations and to critique everything that came before. It feels self-aware in a way that maybe is allowed because we've seen plays like Burning Pestle that are highly self-reflective. And so maybe, again, Lois is directing us well in thinking of this as potential parody. I think that might be a direction to think about for pulling it together into a performable thing if one were determined to do so.
Oh, which is our mission to do so. One day we will do this in multiple ways, I'm sure. And all of those options are on the table. But sadly, that is all we have time for. We must close the session on this three-pipe problem. I'm not in charge of the stopping the recording, so I'm just having Eric on standby to actually press stop. First of all, thanks to Eric for covering in my absence and keeping everything going. Thanks to all the wonderful readers. You too can become a reader. Become a reader in the future. There are sign-ups available on the website in our Get Involved pages, so you can always join us if you so wish. But all that remains is thank all the wonderful readers for all their wonderful reading. Thank you very much, everyone, and goodbye. Out, hypocrite! I charge thee, trust him not.